Hey everyone, I'm here today with the guys from Spartan Training Concepts once again. We just wrapped up the 2-day Force on Force class. What are you guys calling it exactly?
Active shooter.
Yeah, the active shooter
with
course.
Medical. Yeah.
Active shooter with medical. I can say that I've taken a lot of classes with these guys. Obviously you guys have seen some of my other videos. Hopefully I'll have some links below to those as well that you can check out. Of all the classes that I've taken, I think that this is one of the more important ones because it gives you exposure to what it's like when rounds are coming back at you, which is not something you typically get at a range or really most schools that you've probably gone to if you've gone to other schools. You're shooting at static targets that aren't shooting back, and this is a big change from that. So can you guys talk a little bit about the idea behind this class?
Well, our focus is doing just that, just what you said on this class, is opening people's mind to what it feels like to actually have inbound rounds coming at you. The fluid movement, the confusion basically is what it is, to bring that to people and what it's really like. We try to overload all the senses and make it as real as possible in these situations, and for people to experience what it would really be like in a real situation, not like you mentioned, on a static range with a fixed target, not shooting back at you, online, all those things that are not applicable in a real world situation. We try to change all that up and get people to open their minds and try something different with this class.
So one of the things we do is we teach these live fire classes with static targets, and that's just like most people do at most firearm schools. They're teaching all these different methods of using your gun or fighting with it or whatever, and that's outstanding stuff. But one of the things that I think is very important about force-on-force training is that until you have a proving ground to prove the things that you're teaching or the things that you've been taught, a lot of that's really just theory. Most of it's been brought up over the years by guys who know Masada Yub and Jeff Cooper and Tactical Response and all these guys that have been doing it for a long time and had students go on to be successful in actual gunfights. However, one of the things that most schools don't do, and it's not because they're bad schools, just because they usually don't have the opportunity to do it or whatever, is to have a force-on-force shoot house where you could go in and shoot a human body that's shooting back at you, and that dynamic is totally different. You can't recreate what it's like for someone to be backlit in a room and have an elbow come out from a window and be like, okay, I need to shoot that guy's elbow because that's all I got is bam, I'm going to shoot that elbow. So that's pretty much almost impossible to recreate on a live fire range. And unless you're, let a bunch of felons loose in somewhere and throw guns at them, you're not going to be able to recreate that on a live fire range. So it's really important to me to have the ability to take what I'm teaching and teach these people to go out in our shoot house and do that stuff, and have them come back and say, man, that really worked. That one thing you told me about when I do this, I got shot in the arm instead of the face that time, or I didn't get shot at all that time, mm-hmm. or man, it worked really well. Or they'll come back and say, man, that didn't work. And if I had students coming back saying, hey, this one thing you taught me didn't work, and then the next time the same thing and the same thing, then we're going to sit down and re-examine why we're teaching that and say maybe this isn't the best way to do it. So that, to me, that's very important. But this class particularly is on active shooters. Most people don't know what they're going to do in an active shooting type situation, and there's so many different active shooter situations that have happened over the years. It's hard to give direction on any one thing. So all I can do is try to be as prepared as I can for the worst case scenario. And when you come here, we examine, the philosophy of an active shooter, like how they act, what they normally do. And then we talk about how to react to these types of situations as a single person. I'm just one guy, and I need to change my tactics to reflect that fact, that I don't have a team of people backing me up, and that the police are on the way, and when they show up, that's going to change the whole dynamic of the situation. So that's everything that we address here, and we run you through scenarios in our shoot house and try to get you to basically to have a safe place to fail. Mm-hmm. So you come here, check your ego at the door. That's what I did several years ago, and just go into these classes, check my ego at the door, and have a safe place to fail. Because I'd rather fail here in a shoot house than fail and end up in a hospital or a prison.
Yeah. Well, again, that's the thing that I probably appreciate the most about this class is we had a lot of people in this course, and every single one who took this class are experienced shooters. They've been shooting for years and years and years, most of their life. I think all of them kind of came in, myself included, had an idea of, okay, well, if I was in this situation, this is probably what I would do, and I'd probably be, Billy Badass, and I'd kill the bad guy, and I'd totally walk away unscathed. And I'm covered in pink paint, which is demonstrative to the contrary. And I think everyone in here, the word humbling was used multiple times by a lot of people, saying, wow, I had no idea what I was doing. And I can say, just from watching a lot of the other guys run through the course, from the first run through to the last run through, was a night and day difference. At first people were staying in the fatal funnels for a long period of time. They weren't finding their front sight. They weren't making their hits. And then by the end of the class, people were moving a lot more fluidly. Now, that's not to say that if you don't have any firearms experience that you can't get anything out of this either. Again, I highly recommend this course to anyone, not just people who've been shooting their whole lives, because I think everyone can get something out of this course. I can even say I want to take this course again. So even though I've been a part of this one, I want to take it as often as I possibly can, because I still think that the more you take it, the more you're going to find that you're doing wrong, or the more you can refine what you're doing and be even more successful, and even just experience more different types of scenarios, because each scenario that we get run through is different from the ones you've gone through before. So again, like he was saying, it's a safe place to fail. You learn a lot. Very, very valuable lessons coming from this course. I don't know. Do you guys have anything else that you guys want to add?
I think that's the long and short of it, is that force on force training can never be overstated on how important it is to really round out your training. If you start off in doing force on force training, even better. So
yeah, I think that's just what I was talking about at the end of the class here before the guys left. We need to have a much more balanced approach to our training. I think in general in the firearms community, between live fire and force on force.
Mm-hmm.
I could count on one hand how many friends of mine that carry a firearm have ever even done force on force training. To me, I don't know, that's pretty sad, on how valuable it is. But I didn't realize that either until I did it.
You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. But as Ian mentioned earlier, everything has to be vetted. I believe with force on force training, whether it's hand-to-hand combatives, firearms training, whatever it is, it has to be vetted in these type of situations, because you just don't truly know what you'll do until you're in that situation. And we try to make everything obviously as realistic as possible, and to really go the extra mile on that. So. Yeah.
Well, an analogy that I've always heard, and Josh can speak to this directly since he's more experienced in martial arts and mixed martial arts. Before UFC or those mixed martial arts competitions, there was always this theory of, well, my Aikido, I'd probably be able to do this against your karate, and you wouldn't be able to hit me. And it was all theory. No one was able to actually put it into practice until UFC came about. And that was really the first time that people were able to say, okay, here's this technique, what's going to work in a no holds barred, at least for the first couple of them, fights. And I think that's what force on force is to firearms. There's a lot of theory out there. You can watch a lot of interesting YouTube videos out there of some ideas that people have, but until you're able to put them to the test, there's no saying what's going to work and what's not. So I highly recommend this course. Obviously, we're all speaking highly of it. I'm also going to cut in some testimonials from some of the other students, just so you can get a more diversified opinion on this class. Again, I think it's all very overall positive. If people want to know more about your guys' classes, where can they look?
SpartanTrainingConcepts.com. You can follow us on Facebook at Spartan Training Concepts, and on the web and Facebook, and on Instagram, Spartan Training Concepts on Instagram.
All right, yeah, and again, I'll have all the links below, as well as the links to to their website and to the other classes that I've been able to be a part of and film. Excellent stuff. Gentlemen, thank you very much for having us here and for doing this class this weekend. Always a pleasure. I'm anxious to come back for the next one. But as always, I hope you're able to get something out of this video, and I appreciate you watching.
I work for Loophole Stevens out of the custom shop. as a custom shop sales rep. I grew up my entire life shooting. I started as a child, about 5 years old. Grew up hunting and fishing and things like that. Then wanted to take my firearms training further and attended a gunsmithing program, which became a really awesome opportunity and opened the doors for me in the firearms industry. I decided to take this course because I thought I wanted to learn more about being engaged in an active shooter and wanting to know what would be the best tactic to take if I were put into a similar situation like that. I absolutely feel that I got my money out of this class. Definitely went far beyond any of my expectations. I would absolutely take a class like this again and recommend it to all of my friends. The biggest thing I took away from this class is how intense it can really be. I took away that being in these scenarios is much more intense, much more drastic and chaotic than you would really expect from any other scenario. I loved it. Ian and Josh were amazing teachers, very knowledgeable, super friendly. Really enjoyed them. Great to goof around with. And when it's time for business, they definitely mean business and they know what they're doing.
My name is JR, and I actually work at Leupold and Stevens and work in the custom shop. So sales associate, people call us. We sell them custom shop scopes and, give them the right advice for what they need and how they're going to apply that. I've been shooting most of my life, hunting, and joined the Marine Corps in 2000, and ever since then I've just been following up and training. So Josh introduced me to some training around the area and then let me know that this class was available. So I brought it up to a couple of buddies of mine, and we all got together and decided it was going to be a great course, something that's different. Never had force on force one-on-one. So we decided to get together, see what the class was about, and it just really opened our eyes to the different tactics and the different ways that things can go down. This class was amazing. I mean, as far as getting my money's worth, it's a whole different scenario, a whole different aspect. It opens your eyes to, you're not on a static range. You're not firing at one target. Things are constantly changing. The scenarios are just set up to where you can practice and fail here and still get proficient and better yourself. It's okay to fail in an environment here because you can walk away at the end of the day. In a real scenario, you don't have that second opportunity. So you train here and get better, and it's an eye opener. It makes you think about everything you need to improve on. I think the main thing I took away from this class was life isn't a static target on a range. You've got to move. You've got to keep your head about you. You've got to be calm. You have to realize that the threat can come from any direction at any time. So just be aware of it. If you're going to carry a handgun, be proficient at it and be aware. Don't sit with your back towards doors. Don't just walk in with your head down into your phone. Pay attention to what's going on around you, and be the aggressor. Don't be the prey. I would honestly recommend this class to anybody who had a concealed carry permit, who wanted to see how proficient they are and give them a safe space to hone their skills and improve on just all aspects of the training. So one thing I will add is that all of these instructors were extremely professional. They were extremely helpful, and it wasn't like if you failed you got chastised. It was, this is why you did what you did, and we understand that, but this is a better way to do it. And it was extremely helpful, and it definitely just opened my eyes to a whole new range of things that I can work on.
Rick James.
Please Johnson.